Now that we've introduced and went over various examples solving equations, we're going to continue now with our next section, which is more equations. So we're going to still be dealing with equations. We're just going a little bit further than what we did in the previous videos. So in particular, consider this equation first. 2x over 3 equals 8. Now, most of the time we have just a single number with the variable. Here we have this fraction. So there's a couple of ways to think about it. What we normally do is divide, but since dividing by a fraction causes us, if you recall, to change it into multiplication anyway, it's actually easier, since we have a fraction over there with the variable, to approach this problem from the point of view of let's multiply by the reciprocal of the fraction. So the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. So we multiply everything by 3/2 on both sides. On the left hand side, right, everything's just going to cancel out. They're all just going to turn into ones. And then on the other side, we can cancel the 8 and the 2 to reduce. And at this point we can write down our answer. X on the left hand side, or just 1x. And on the other side, we've gotten rid of the denominator, so we just have 4 times 3 equals 12. 4 times 3 equals 12. And so that's a common idea, and it's really helpful, I think, here if you think of it as multiply by the reciprocal, or flip the fraction. Multiply by the flip of the fraction. Now our next example is a little more complicated. It has a couple of fractions in it. Now in just a moment, a couple of minutes, I'm going to show you how to handle this problem. By getting rid of the fractions at the very beginning. But we can work through this problem. This really is no different than other problems that we've done before, except that it has fractions in it. So just like we did before, we could say we need to get the variable part, the variable term, by itself. So to do that, we would have to get rid of this 2/3, and we can do that, since it's negative, by adding that to both sides. Now the difference here is we've got some work to do. 3/5 plus 2/3, most of us aren't going to just look at that and say, oh, the answer is such and such. Right? We got to do some work. So remember, to add fractions, we need a common denominator. 3/5 plus 2/3. So we get a common denominator, which would be 15 for 5 and 3. And then we build our new fractions. 5 times 3 gave me 15. So on the top, 3 times 3 is where I get my 9 from. And then 3 times 5 gave me 15. So on top, 2 times 5 gives me 10. Alright, at this point I have my common denominator, so we can just put our numerators together. 9 plus 10 is 19 over 15. And so now we can write our problem down. 4x over 5 equals 19 over 15. And then we can proceed like we did in the previous example. We have a fraction with the variable, so we multiply by its reciprocal. Right, 5/4 on both sides. And then we go through as much as we can, and we simplify. So the 5's cancel on the left, the 4's cancel, and then we can go over to the right hand side and note, hey, I can cancel that 5 with the 15 in the bottom. And then that's all the canceling I can do. That's all the canceling I can do in this problem. So at this point I just put everything together. On the left hand side I'll have just x. 19 times 1 is 19. 3 times 4 is 12. So I get x equals 19 over 12. In the next video, the one right after this one, we are going to look at another way to do this problem. We're going to look at another way to do this problem. And the way we're going to handle it is by getting rid of the fractions. So stay tuned.